Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ethics Movement, the show about ethics and compliance and how we're making the world a better place. I'm Tom Fox, and I'm the compliance evangelist.
I'm Philip Winterburn, Chief Strategy Officer at Convercent. And in today's episode, we're announcing the launch of Converge. It's our new digital community that is going to bring a whole new level of conversation, participation, and thought leadership to the ethics and compliance profession. And in fact, even beyond that, to the business world in general.
And from my perspective, this community will be unlike anything that's out there for all of us in the ethics and compliance community.
All right, so keep listening to find out how Converge will help you start an ethical revolution at your company.
So, Philip, can I start off by pitching to you what exactly is the Converge community?
So the Converge community has been forming over the last several years. It really began back in it was 2016. We had our first Converge conference, and it was a little different in those days because I remember there was some wooden cutout boards for the back of the stage, and the stage was about 6 inches high off the ground. But as we've evolved over the subsequent years, the Converge events have spawned a whole community around them. And so we have now these annual events, we have roundtables, we have coffee mornings, we have thought leadership meetings, we have innovation forums. And as we've gone into this year, we've really lent into the digital side of that. And we've had over the last couple of years an online community that has been sort of in its nascent stages. But this year, we're launching a brand new Converge online experience. It really brings all of this together into one concerted experience. So whether you're attending a digital roundtable or going to a roundtable in person, attending one of our conferences online or in person, it's all going to circle around this Converge community that is enabled by this online forum.
From my perspective as a consumer, as a user, as someone who has attended the Converge events over the years, the magic has been the people, the community, community that Convercent created around the Converge event. In many ways, it was outside of the keynote speeches, even outside of the breakout sessions. Certainly, those educational sessions were critical, important, and very informative, but it was the follow-up. It was the banter between compliance professionals in the hallways over coffee. Some of the best conversations I had were with people I'd never met over lunch in industries that I want to say are antithetical to energy, but very different than the energy. There was a woman from the Denver Independent School District who is a compliance and ethics officer, and I had a fascinating discussion with her at one event. But the way Converge was set up, it was to foster this community. And what I've really advocated and really wanted to have in our greater compliance community was that experience that we could translate, that we could have that on an ongoing basis. And I'm really excited about Converge as potentially something that takes us to a year-round compliance, or rather Converge experience through the Converge community.
And I think people have often asked what's different, what makes Converge unique, and particularly when you talk about the sort of keystone events that we've held, the energy level that you talk to there in the room when people come to Converge, and the conversations that occur. I believe it's all connected because we've been very deliberate in creating that high energy environment so that it elevates everybody's energy levels. There's excitement in the room. There's a reason why we do a big stage with big screens, with the voice of God pulling people onto the stage. That whole dynamic with lead-in music is all there to create that energy and excitement. And that then, I think, feeds into the conversations that occur outside of the room, because people are then uplifted by that. And we've been very deliberate about bringing speakers in who aren't necessarily ethics and compliance people. We've had poets, we've had rappers, we've had all sorts of people come to these sessions to not just be talking to the ethics and compliance profession by ethics and compliance people, but also to add into that these adjacent and external perspectives that sort of open the mind up, which I think then stimulates those conversations that you talk about. So as we then bring people together and create those connections, we inspire them with these sort of new thinking and new ideas and drive people with energy that then helps them grow as individuals and have great conversations in the community.
There's one other thing that I found unique about the Converge conference experience, really unlike others. And I am probably the worst about this is at larger conferences, I tend to just hang out with my friends, people I know, people I'm comfortable with. At the Converge event, uh, it's it's set up so that you meet other people, whether that be around the coffee, whether that be around the mid morning or mid afternoon snacks, whether it's the lunch breaks, and most particularly the events in the evening are designed to allow you to interact with people that you might not ever meet, let alone sit down and have a substantive conversation with. And one of the hopes I have for the Converge community is that we can recreate that virtually, that sort of magic as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think and we've already begun that work with the digital roundtables and the roundtables that we do, where we bring people together. And this is where, as we look at these opportunities, in this new world order that we're living in, as everyone's working from home and we're doing things online, it's not just, oh, it's a backup, we'll go to online. It's how do we make the online experience so much better than maybe in person? And one of the examples is we've been running roundtable events now for several years, and these are done geographically. So we bring people together for lunch, we have a conversation, we talk about what's going on in ethics compliance. But now with digital, we're able to bring people together who aren't necessarily in the same geographic region. We can bring people with who want to talk about the same topic, or people who are in the same industries. And so we're using these platforms as a way to create new connections to people who may never have met otherwise, which goes to your point of how do we create new friendships, new connections, rather than going for the easy approach of just sticking with the friends that we know.
So I hope our listeners will stick with us after this break. We're going to break down some of the specifics of the Converge community.
Hey everybody, this is Jenna, producer of the Ethics Movement. Thanks for listening. Here at Convercent, we're getting ready to launch a brand new version of our online community, Converge, in just a few weeks. When it launches, you'll find discussion threads on every compliance topic imaginable, plus virtual events like our roundtables and coffee chats. Keep listening to the podcast to find out when the new community launches. We can't wait to share it with you.
Welcome back, everyone. And I wanted to maybe talk about some of the elements of the Converge community and why, at this point in time, I think they're absolutely critical. We are going to have online communities with discussion forums. These discussion forums will be by topic, they'll be by industry, they'll be by geographic area, they'll be moderated. It will give you a place where you can not only see the questions that are arising in your space, but also see the discussion threads and hopefully participate in those discussion threads. Philip, one of the things that I find so exciting about this, in this podcast series, we've talked about not only the effects of COVID-19 and coronavirus as really accelerating change. It's accelerating change, things that were already sort of bubbling along that may have been implemented, but now they have to be implemented simply because we have to do work differently. And I think the Converge community certainly falls into that, but it's not simply about change in business. It's about change in society. It's about what shareholders and, more importantly, stakeholders expect of their corporations now. They expect people to do business ethically and in compliance, but now they expect people to do business fairly. They expect people to do business with a diverse workforce. They expect institutional fairness and institutional justice. And those are now, people are seeing transparently into corporations in ways that they had not been able to. And then, of course, social media really amplifies that. And I find the Converge community is a response to that and will help compliance practitioners I think, stay ahead of the curve and for issues that as they come up, they can reach out to other compliance professionals for guidance, for experience, or even support. How do you see the Converge community along those lines?
I think you actually hit the nail on the head there. This ability to come together as a community of ethics and compliance professionals and ask questions of each other, I think is absolutely fundamental. We're being faced with problems and challenges and opportunities that we've never been faced with before as a profession. And we see this in this evolution of accountability, this sort of societal accountability that's being placed on organizations that we've talked about in prior podcasts, where organizations are being held to a level by not just their employees, by their customers, by their shareholders, by their communities in general. So, and if organizations don't step up to the expectations of those groups, they will be punished for it by social movements and similar activities. And so, as an ethics and compliance professional, this is a great moment to actually lean into that and take ownership of that and help drive that. And in fact, along with the launch of the community, we'll be publishing a series of articles Jane Mitchell and I have been working on that really talk to this ethical revolution that is occurring. Companies have to change the way they do business. We have to now have more integrity within the organizations. We have to be true to our values. False PR messages are quickly sort of discovered and trashed by the media. By creating this digital community where now, as professionals, we can come together, share ideas, share best practices, and work together to elevate the bar. This is a rising tide rises all ships opportunity, because it's a wonderful profession. We all do work together. And the idea of the Converge community is to increase and amplify those connections so that we can all grow together and can be more effective in our roles.
One of the themes, we have two releases of information from the Department of Justice over the past 5 weeks. We had the 2020 update to the evaluation of corporate compliance programs, and we had the second edition of the FCPA Resources Guide released on July 2nd. And one of the clear themes to me, Philip, was the not only use of simply data, but information, and how information needs to be monitored on a continuous basis and continually inputted into your compliance program. And that really moves the compliance professional from a technician to a real thought leader within their organization, to look at patterns, to look at data, to look at information in new ways that they perhaps have not done in the past. And so we're going to have virtual roundtables, virtual coffee chats, virtual informal sessions where I think compliance professionals can talk about some of these changes, can talk about what's the information you look for in your compliance program and how do you utilize that in a way that not only moves your compliance program forward, but now if a regulator ever comes knocking, you can document that you've met those expectations.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating to me. We started the community launches on Wednesday, and we have a couple of people that have already started posting articles in there, and just the variety of topics that people are covering, from behavioral science to data analytics to ethics and compliance core capabilities. The breadth that we're seeing already surface just in these initial discussions that are starting up in advance of the launch is so exciting to see this come to bear in one place. And how do you apply some of these new thoughts and new areas into the daily operations of an ethics and compliance function? I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see.
Philip, one of the things that frankly has surprised me, there's obviously places, there are blog sites, there are other places where people can post articles they've written, post blogs they've written. And many compliance professionals, I would say the vast majority, don't, because they don't feel like they have the time to write the article or for other reasons. But what I'm finding is within this community, they may have a paragraph or two that they've been thinking about something, and they may not feel it's long enough to make an article or a blog post around, but it's certainly long enough to convey an idea. So I'm seeing lots of engagement from people who typically don't post blogs, who don't write articles, but still they're well thought out paragraphs. They're well thought out 2 paragraphs that can really lead a discussion. And I find that incredibly exciting.
Yes, I agree. I think there's a natural fear of posting large articles online and putting yourself out there that people have. It's that imposter syndrome, I guess, that many of us suffer from. So it takes a leap to overcome that, and then maybe it feels like a heavyweight activity to write an article. But that's what we're seeing here is people feeling comfortable within their community just to throw out a thought, throw out an idea, throw out a question. I'm looking at this, or I'm thinking about adopting something. Anybody else tried this? What can go wrong? What works right? And seeing those dialogues happen organically. And I don't know if it's a feature of more people staying at home, more people using chat during Zoom meetings and the like that we're all on all the time these days. But there seems to be more appetite right now to actually just jump in and put something out there. And it's not, you don't have to worry about, I'm staking my reputation on this big statement I'm putting up. I'm not. I'm just asking a question or throwing an idea out and making it much more casual, much more organic, and as you say, much more exciting as a result.
Philip, there's a quote from Helen Keller I'd like to pitch and maybe see if this would synthesize for you what one of the key themes we've been talking about, and that's alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. How does that encapsulate the Converge community for you?
Yeah, I think that sort of sums it up really. As many organizations, the ethics and compliance team, if it's a team, one individual, it's usually a pretty small group in the organization with a very weighty burden and a very important role to play. And that role is only increasing in importance. And as we see this movement of really understanding the implications of human behavior, of employee conduct, and how culture that wraps around that can drive that, and the responsibility that we have as ethics and compliance professionals to influence the culture, to monitor the cultures that get created within organizations, it can often feel like we're fighting this battle on our own. And what Converge does is give you a place where you can come together, and together we can do so much, because together we can learn from each other, together we can grow with each other, and as a result have a far bigger impact, not just within our organizations, but also on society as a whole.
Philip, although this Converge community goes live on Wednesday, listeners to this podcast can sign up for the community earlier. If they wanted to do so, how would they do so, or where could they go?
All they need to do is go to a web browser and type in converge.convercent.com, and they will go through a registration process. It's very quick and easy. And once they go through that, they'll have full access to a whole breadth of fascinating articles that are already appearing from some of our early adopters that are putting some great thoughts out there. So I do encourage you all, have a go, come take a look, and I can guarantee you will find something of interest that will engage you, and I hope you will comment on it and start the conversation going.
So I'm Tom Fox, and I wanted to thank you again for joining us on this episode.
And I'm Philip Winterburn. Thank you.